try to continue with the tutorial that we had started. Okay, so what ended on question 3. Without wasting time, let us try to solve these questions. The first question is saying define and discuss the following. Of course, like the question that we had in the first video, it was asking us to define and discuss what we had. Of course, like I had mentioned, these hints that are being given here to say, okay, you can write the formula, you can put the graph, or you can put the equation. They won't put these in the exam if the question was to come like that. Probably you just find it to be define or discuss the following, as simple as that. Then you have to try to define the following. The first one is saying define total cost. What is total cost? Total cost is simply the overall cost that is incurred when production is taking place. Remember, we defined production to be a process where it's simply a process of combining all the factors of production to produce a certain quantity of what or level of output. So for us to manage to get those same inputs, there's this thing that we incur, which is called total cost. Total cost have fixed costs in them. They also have variable costs in them. So total cost, remember, we're given to say you can also write the formula. So you can say total cost is equals to total fixed costs plus total variable costs. So this is the formula for total cost. So this is simply the cost that a firm incurs when it is undergoing production. Okay, so that is total cost. Now B, what is marginal cost? Marginal cost is simply the extra cost that a firm is going to incur this by producing an extra unit. Okay, so it is simply marginal cost is going to be change in this total cost over change in what? Quantity. Okay, so it means that this is an extra unit. This is an extra cost that is going to be incurred by producing an extra unit. Okay, of whatever quantity, whatever output that is being produced. That is marginal cost. What is average cost? Our average cost is simply the cost that is incurred per. So it is average cost. Average cost is simply the cost that is incurred per quantity that is produced. So you can be dividing whatever quantity, whatever cost that you produced per quantity. That is our average cost. What is an ISO cost? So an ISO cost is simply a line that shows the maximum cost. So yeah, the maximum cost that this firm will have to pay for it to use a certain level of what the certain level of combination of these inputs. Remember, we have fixed costs and variable costs, right? So if we're saying an ISO cost is like that, this ISO cost is going to show the maximum. It is going to show how much everything that is on this ISO cost costs. So whatever, if we have something there, we have something there, we have something there. So we're going to find that we have an difference curve, maybe a difference curve there. So whatever is here, we have a certain level of inputs that are put there, right? And then we have another level of input that is here. So we're going to find that we have other things there. So these inputs that are here, the set of inputs that are here. Sorry, by the way, it's supposed to be like this. Okay, so the amount of these inputs that are here for A and the amount of these inputs that are here at B are going to cost the same amount. Okay, so it's simply a line that shows inputs that cost various combinations of inputs that cost the same level, cost the same cost, just to cut the story short. Okay. Now, what is an isoquant? An isoquant is the same point that I put here that looks like an indifference curve. And I'm sorry I mentioned to say it was an indifference curve. It's called an isoquant. Okay, because we've done too many of these things to do with uh, graphs, and we've forgotten what the difference. But otherwise, I believe you get what I'm saying. So this is an isoquant. An isoquant is simply a graph or a curve that tries to show, it shows inputs, various inputs that give the same level of outputs. So all the inputs that are on this isoquant are going to give the same level of output. Okay, so if we were to use inputs at this point, we use this 1, 1, 1, 2, or we use 2, 1, we're going to get the same level of output. So that is for this. Okay, let us move on. So here we can have a formula, of course. So of course we can have income. We can say income is equals to price of good X times the quantity plus price of good Y. Sorry, this is supposed to be X with Y. So this can stand um, as that. Probably even this, I know this is also under consumer theory, where you use something like this. Of course, we talk about income, and then we talk about the price for good what, we talk about what, right? Even here you can still use the same thing. Of course, we're just going to replace, while we're saying income, we're going to say total cost, right? How much everything that is on this curve are costing. So the total cost, and we're going to say the price for labor. Of course, we always have labor there when we have capital there. So we're going to say labor, and then it's with its quantity. Of course, we're going to also need to know, its price and the quantity of it, and plus the price of this other thing that is going to be there, which is capital, right, together with the quantity. So it's the same thing. Of course, it's the same thing. Okay, something like that. It's just the things that we're going to put there that are going to make it seem to be different. But otherwise, if we just put it in the actual, if you forget the last part, just if you remember this and you forget that, you can use that and then replace the things that are there to be there, like I just did. Okay, I brought up the first part because I wanted to at least remind you guys about consumer theory. Okay, so moving forward, we can also try to talk about the next question, which is saying it's the same thing as well. It's saying define and discuss the following. Of course, I talked about the hints. It's the same thing. So the first one is saying define and discuss variable costs. So variable costs are just costs. Remember, from this total cost that we have, total cost function that we have here. So this is the formula, right? Our formula, we have variable costs, which are here. We also have fixed ones that are here, right? So what are variable costs? So variable costs are simply costs that change due to how much quantity is changing. Okay, these variable costs are going to change due to the change of quantity. So you're going to find that if there will be more production, there will be more quantity that is produced, it means that you added more variable costs. That's why there's more output now. There's more output because you've had added more uh, laborers or any other thing that is varying. Okay, then fixed costs is just the opposite of varying costs. Of course, varying costs are those that are going to be changing due to the number of output that are produced. This one does not change. Okay, it doesn't change even if total production increases or what. It's just the same. It doesn't matter how much output is produced, you still have to pay workers the same money that you pay them as their salary, right? If you are a permanent worker, even if you produce a lot of quantity or anything, whatever you produce at your company, you still have to get paid the same level of uh, your salary. You are going to be paid the same salary, so it does not change. Okay, so these are fixed costs. We can talk about sunk costs. So these are simply costs that are supposed to be forgotten. So these costs are costs that are um how can I put it? They have been used and then you cannot recover them. Okay, so like it's more like you've bought something, you buy something, then that thing does not work. Or let me say you buy something, then you use it, then you keep it in the company. You cannot start using the money that you bought that thing in your future plans, whereby you start saying, oh, actually, I wouldn't have bought this. When you're calculating the losses or any profits that you've made, you're adding some costs to say, oh, I also bought this, so it's that's the reason we have this profit. No, Kasan costs are not counted as for any future thing. That cost that cannot be recovered. You've already used the money. You've already used something. It cannot be recovered. This it happened. It happened. You buy a bed. You're sleeping on it. Then you start complaining. So now I bought Nagula bed manjeni. So all the money that I had, like I would have kept it instead of buying a bed. So it doesn't happen like that. Okay. Otherwise, we move on. What is opportunity cost? So, what is an opportunity cost? An opportunity cost or opportunity cost is simply um, the best uh, the best alternative that is forgone in terms of making a decision. Of course, you have decisions, right? You have alternatives. You're going to find that whenever you're making a decision, we know that humans have limited, and I mean have unlimited ones, but the sources are what? Limited. So you're going to find that they are forced to make what? Decisions. So those decisions that they are forced to make, they are forced to make a choice in terms of making those decisions because of scarcity. Okay, so they have to decide to say, okay, what am I supposed to get between this one and that one? What are the benefits of me getting that and that? So now opportunity cost comes in when you choose something over the other. That thing that you chose, what you could have, the benefits that you could have been getting from the thing that you did not choose, that is what we're calling opportunity cost. That is that is what we mean by the benefits. Yeah, that's what we mean by the foregone the foregone the best next alternative that is foregone in terms of making what? Decisions. I mean decisions. Okay, so that is that. Uh, Let us move to E. E is simply talking about accounting costs. So what are accounting costs? These are simply costs that are there. Remember opportunity costs. Opportunity costs are just costs that we are imagining to say, okay, I might have had that much. Okay, so they are not actually monies that come from your pocket, or it's just the money that you'd have had. So of course where you can consider this as implicit costs that come from so like this point that talks about explicit cost and implicit cost. So opportunity cost is graded to be in an implicit cost. So without even wasting time, an implicit cost is just the opportunity cost that someone would have had by doing something that they didn't do. Okay, so I've already explained this part. And now this is the actual money that someone has paid for something. Okay, so this is simply the cost that someone has paid for something. Okay, so like you're in a company or a firm, you're producing something, you pay laborers, you pay rent, you pay what, that actual amount that you're paying, that is what we're calling accounting costs. It is the actual account that you are basically going to pay someone for the deed that they've done in terms of production. Okay, And then explicit costs. So these are just actual accounting money for costs. I mean, yeah, costs that a firm incurs. So these are the costs that you're going to write down to say, okay, on Monday we had paid this much to the company to produce this much quantity. On Tuesday we had paid this much to produce this much quantity, etc. Something like that. Okay. Now, what are economic profits? So economic profits are just profits that a firm would get. So like we know that profit is given by total revenue minus uh, total cost, right? But here, remember that we're talking about, we have implicit costs and explicit costs. So for us to find this answer, we're going to say use pi, which is total profit. Total revenue is going to be like that. We're going to have implicit costs, I mean explicit costs, okay, explicit cost minus implicit costs. So this is the actual formula that we are going to use as the economic profit. Profit. Okay, so this is simply the profit that a firm would get um, from subtracting total revenue, but I mean total cost from total revenue. Okay, so that is about these questions that are on top there. Okay, let us move on to this other part. Okay, let me just erase this. Give me a sec. Okay. Okay, I think this is enough. You're going to see from here. So the first question is saying, discuss the properties of an isoquant. Remember that an isoquant is simply a curve that shows the inputs that give the same level of what? Output. So we have an isoquant. An isoquant looks like that. I'm going to give this as a simple illustration that I'm going to give like that. We can have something like that on the ice as our isoquant. Okay, we can have inputs that are like that, and we can have something like that. Okay, we can have something like that. So we can have something like that. So as you can see, this set, there's B, C, D, E, F. So these are points. As you can see, D has its own combination, C has its own combination, F has its own combination, C has its own, all of them have their own combination. So as you can see here, and isoquant properties can simply come from here. Without even, if you've forgotten, you just know how to draw this. You can just draw this and now start saying whatever you can see here. What are you able to see from what I can see here? What am I able to see from here? So from what I can see here, these are up or downward sloping, right? They are downward sloping, and it shows the substitution effect, which is here. We're not talking about the substitution effect where someone will substitute to get that more of that under that talks under what's this consumer theory. No, here we're simply talking about the marginal rate of technical substitution. That's what we're trying to talk about here. So it means that for a firm to stay in equilibrium, if it decides to say, okay, I'm going to use more, okay, we have capital there, we have labor here, to use more labor than capital, it must shift from, I mean, it must move from here to there for it to remain in equilibrium, and it doesn't producing the same level of outputs. Okay, so I have 30 there, something like that. So technical substitution is going to be given by so I have labor, I mean we have capital, because we're just moving from there, capital over labor. Okay, then these also have the other property is that the isoquant that is far from the origin, this part, the origin, give us the highest level of outputs. So that is how we have to know this. The further the further the what's this the isoquant is from the origin, it means that we are going to be producing more of the quantity than the other ones, because you're going to be using more of the inputs, and the more the inputs are, the more the output are going to be. So you cannot also have isoquants facing downward like that. Another property is that you cannot have isoquants crossing, because this one, you cannot have the same point giving the same level of outputs. No. So one point is supposed to give one level of output, not 2 points giving the same level of output. Okay, you can try to look up for more process properties, because there are more, okay, that you can give. Of course, it is also convex, right? This is convex. It is also convex, which shows the substitution effect that is there, which I said, marginal rate of technical substitution that is there. Okay, and then B is saying discuss the long run equilibrium. So under the long run, you're going to find that a firm will try to maximize its profit by using the lowest level of the cost when it comes to production. Okay, it is going to try to use the lowest costs. Okay, so it will try to say, okay, which costs the lowest, and which costs, even if it costs the lowest, am I getting the maximum profit from these other ones? Okay, those are the questions that the firm should be asking. So in the long run, they're going to find that the firm will look at the equilibrium to be at the point where we have the budget, an ISO quant, an ISO cost like that, and then an ISO quant to come like that. So equilibrium is going to be at this point where these are tangent to each other. Okay, the an ISO quant is tangent to the ISO cost there at point, which condition is the condition is marginal. The marginal revenue is equals to marginal cost. Okay, so if we take this in the market structure, of course, we're going to have things like, in the long run, perfect competition, we can't, all those conditions that are there. But if we put it, we just end there. This is the condition that we're going to illustrate on question B. Okay, then C is saying discuss returns to scale with the aid of a diagram. So here, what are returns to scale? So returns to scale are just this is simply, I can call it a process or a time period when a firm tries to change, or they double all the inputs that they have to see how much quantity is going to change. Remember, in the long run, we have both things varying, right? So they are going to change both of the things. They're going to change labor, and they're also going to change input. So they double those two at the same time to see how much quantity is going to be affected. So we have increasing returns to scale, we have constant returns to scale, we also have what decreasing returns to scale. So what is increasing returns to scale? So increasing returns to scale, I can't write properly here, so just get the points that I'm saying. If you have where to write, please write where you are going to be writing, because I can't write properly here on the board if you are copying from what I'm writing here. So what are increasing returns to scale? Increasing returns to scale are simply returns to scale is simply a process, or it's a time period when a firm tries to double both of income, both of the inputs, and then the output comes out to be more than what they put in the production. Example, they put 10% of the inputs, and then the output comes out to be 20%. So this is more than what they put. Okay, what is constant? So constant is when they double the inputs, they double maybe 10, and then the output comes out the same to be 10%, the same level of the things that they put there. Decreasing the tens is when they double and then the output decrease. Okay, you find that they of course they have increased, but they increased at a decreasing rate. So you find that the output comes out maybe to be 5% increasement, not 10. So it has decreased. Okay, but now putting it in a graph, increasing the tens are going to have something like this. You have that part and we have that part. We also have that part that is now increased. So this part is going to stand for what we are putting in, and this part is going to stand for what could have come out as constant. But since we're adding the extra part, so we can have 4 there. So this is the increasing part. This is the graph that you're supposed to draw for increasing the tens, but you have to know how to put numbers there. And then the constant one, of course, the constant one, you can just put it like that. It will have the same size that is there. Here, you just use, if we put 1 there, will come to 2. It's as simple as that. Then decreasing, of course, you can have this part the way it is. Then you're going to have another part down that is going to be there. We leave this space because it starts to increase at a decreasing rate. Okay, so this is the graph that we can illustrate on decreasing the tends to scale. Okay, I hope that is clear on the graphs and the explanation about the tends to scale. Number 4, D. D says discuss the relationship between total cost and marginal cost and average cost. So here, I even wanted to give you as an homework for this, because you have to do it by yourself. You try to do it by yourselves, and then you give us answers in the comment section. Yeah, give us answers in the comment section so that we see where we are moving, if at least we have issues or any other things. So try to solve this, then give us answers in the comment section. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, like, and share with your friends. Probably share the videos with your friends so that they are all equipped properly for the exam that you're going to be writing on Monday. Yeah. So solve this last question and comment in the comment section. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe.